Hey everybody, it's good to see you. I hope you are all doing well. This is already a very different format than what my channel already has going on. I think this is kind of going to be what I'm going to use as a little bit of a benchmark and try to grow off of as time goes on. So what we're doing today, if you couldn't take a look in the title of the video, is we're going to go ahead and do 3 Reddit story readings. We got a little bit of funny. We got a little bit of embarrassment. We got a little bit of gore too. Nothing too intense, but if you don't want to listen to anything that'll make you squeamish, I would recommend staying away from our second story, I believe it is. So everybody, I hope you enjoy, and well, without any further ado, without me talking too much more, well, pardon me, I guess I'll be talking quite a bit more. Sit back, relax with your favorite drink, and enjoy. Alright everybody, today's first story comes courtesy of user Giada_Z with "Today I fudged up by accidentally having a job interview in a strip club." This happened 10 years ago, and I still can't believe how clueless I was to this day. I was 18 years old at the time and had just started to go out at night for drinks at nightclubs, but I lived a bit far away from the city center, so I was constantly looking for places a bit closer to my home to hang out with friends who also lived nearby. I was coming back home from school on a random weekday and noticed a big gray building with black windows. The double doors were wide open, revealing some tables, a dance floor, a bar, and people working on renovation inside. There was a really tall blonde woman in the front speaking on the phone. I was happy to find a nightclub close to my home to hang out at, so I stood there briefly looking for a name or something I could check it further online when the tall blonde woman came to me and asked if she could help me with anything. She had the whole pimp vibe, but again, I was 18, stupid, and clueless, and I wanted to sound cool. So I told her that I lived nearby and was thinking about hanging out there sometime and asked for more information about the place. She looked at me head to toe 3 times before asking, "How old are you?" To which I proudly responded I was 18 in 5 months. Such a grown-up, right? She invited me inside to get to know the place and her business partner. I thought I was going to get free drinks and something like that, but decided to go with the flow. This is where I should have guessed what was really happening, because as I got inside I could see some posters of half-naked people and a stage with poles. Well, I didn't guess anything and kept walking to a small door behind the stage. I got inside an office where there was a man sitting behind a desk, and the woman told him about this lovely young girl who wanted to know more about the club and asked him to give me some information. I politely thanked her as I left, and there I was, alone with this guy in a small office at the back of a strip club. Realizing that the situation was weird but still clueless and trying to be cool, so I asked if he could just give me a flyer or something and I'd be on my way. Well, he wanted to get to know me first, so he asked for me to sit down as he asked some questions like what I did for a living and where I lived and if I liked to dance, if I finished my studies, where I had worked before, if I did drugs and, other super personal stuff. I was confused, but only when he asked to see my ID I realized that I was in a job interview. I was paralyzed and had no idea what to do, so I gave him my ID, and after a good look he told me the club was closed for renovation, but there would be a reopening next month. So they were going to be looking for dancers and maybe more, depending on my performance. So if I would just leave my contact information, they would give me a call. I wrote down my real name and number on a piece of paper, yeah, I'm that stupid, and got out of there actually thanking him for his time and feeling like the dumbest person on earth. The woman at the door asked how it was, to which I replied, "It was great. See you later," and left feeling even dumber. They called me a couple of weeks later and I just said I wasn't interested anymore, and that was the end of it. Alright everybody, if I have anything that I have to say after the end of the stories, then, well, I'll go ahead and say a couple of words, but for this one, I don't. So moving on to our next story, today we have "Today I Fudged Up" by dropping one of the sharpest blades in existence. By user I'm_Pinocchio. Enjoy. Just as a quick disclaimer before this story, if you are at all squeamish, I would recommend skipping over this one. It gets a little intense. This happened about 30 years ago when I was doing my PhD in tissue biology. For a little background, in the lab, we use something called microtome blades. And for those who don't know, it's a blade that's so sharp it's used to create a 1 micron thin slice of tissue that are literally less than 1 cell layer thick to be studied under a microscope. Yeah, I know, they're pretty sharp, and they weigh a little more than just a small kitchen knife, and they taper out toward the non-cutting end so they can be sharpened for years and years to come. I was taking it back to the lab after it was just sharpened, and usually we carry it in a special container, partly for safety, but also if it ever gets dropped, the vibrations will create microscopic bends and fractures in the blade that can cause it to cut unevenly, and the blade is essentially ruined at that point. Well, as fate would have it, I forgot to bring the case and was just too lazy to go back across the campus to get one, so I just carried the blade by hand. Another detail that since day one of working with these blades, it was indoctrinated into us that we were to never drop them, because they were very expensive to replace, but nowadays they're a bit cheaper to manufacture and even come as disposables. But back in the 1980s, money, it was several $100, and it would delay your research for several weeks while a new one was shipped. With that in mind, as I entered the main hallway of the biology department, the blade slipped out of my hand, and in a split second, I subconsciously reached out to catch it. Maybe after it fell about 1 foot, but unfortunately I caught the blade sharp end down, and it instantly severed 3 tendons in the palm of my hand. I immediately noticed I couldn't close my index finger, middle finger, and ring finger. It was really strange, because there was very little blood at first. But after around 5 seconds, bright red blood started pouring down my hand, and before I knew it, the white tile floor of the hallway I was standing on had a rapidly spreading pool of blood. It all happened so fast, I hadn't really comprehended what I was experiencing. Another fortuitous part of this story is that one of the anatomy professors saw all this happen and immediately rushed over to hold pressure on my radial and ulnar arteries to control the bleeding. I ended up having surgery to reattach the arteries and tendons. When I woke up after surgery, I was relieved, but noticed they had a blood bag connected to my IV. The nurse said I lost quite a bit of blood and had to be transfused during the surgery. Now, I wish this is the part of the story where I could tell you that I had an uneventful recovery, but after the surgery, I started having severe fevers and chills and terrible back pain. My urine was a muddy, dark brown color, and I could barely catch my breath. Turns out the lab person who drew my blood mislabeled the tubes, and I was transfused with the wrong blood type. I ended up staying in the ICU for a week, almost had complete kidney failure, and had several pulmonary edema. I vividly remember the doctor saying that my kidneys were more likely in complete failure and I would have had lifelong dialysis or a transplant. Fortunately, they caught the transfusion reaction before most of the blood was infused, and I never had to start dialysis. TLDR. Dropped one of the sharpest blades in existence and caught it before it hit the ground, severed most of the tendons and arteries in my hand. In the hospital I was given the wrong blood type, survived severe pulmonary edema, and almost lost both of my kidneys in the process. Holy mother of God. That has got to be one of the most metal and brutal stories I think I have ever read, and so far this is only the real second story I've read on this site. My God. OP, you are lucky to be alive. I am happy to hear you are alive. That is a horrible stroke of bad luck mixed in with a little bit of good luck. Whew. Dang. Alright, today's last story is courtesy of Femintar1. Today I fudged up by letting my mom borrow my car. I, 31M, live with my mom, 54F. For the time being, while saving money to buy my own house, my mom owns a 2-story house building with the bathroom positioned closest to the street. It means that if I take a look outside the window, I'm seeing the street directly. This detail is important. A few hours before the Today I Fudged Up, my mom asked me if she could borrow my vehicle to do chores while her car is in the shop. I lent it to her on and off, and also since nobody is home for a while, I took advantage of it. Candles were lit, and door was locked. Sexy music plays quietly but smoothly. Jellies were... No, none of that. I just sat on the toilet, and popped on my Bluetooth earbud, opened up a dirty video, and went it down. A few minutes afterwards, I realized that I can't hear anything out of my Bluetooth, and for a brief moment, I didn't think much of it. Just assumed that maybe there was a slight disconnection of the earbuds that usually happens only for a few seconds, and it connects again eventually, but it didn't this time. For a solid 1 minute, I was waiting for the sound to come to my earbud, but nothing. I tried pausing and playing the video again, messing with the volume up and down, but still nothing. Finally, I looked into the Bluetooth setting on my phone, and here comes the screw-up. You see, my phone Bluetooth settings have priority if it's connected to more than one device. Therefore, it will disconnect itself from the non-priority ones if the priority connection is close by. Since my job is literally all about driving, I'm using my car a lot, and I have set my car to the priority Bluetooth settings. With eyes wide open, jaw dropped, and a bead of sweat appeared on my forehead, I saw that my phone Bluetooth is connected to, you guessed it, my beauty, my red hot, my baby, the one and only my car. I've been connecting my me time videos audio for a solid 1 minute to my own car. Also, guess who's been using my car? It's the one and only, my mother. I have exposed my own mother to the world of sin her own son is involved in. When she drove, she never used the radio or even bothered to change the setting because she said it distracted her. When I drove, I always left the radio and the Bluetooth audio because I don't listen to AM/FM. Therefore, it's a surefire thing my mom heard everything. But why is she back home so quickly, you asked? She forgot her wallet. So she's coming back for it. I was still in the bathroom when she's searching for her wallet, then just left again without saying anything to me. I thought I was off the hook. But the story isn't over yet. Every Today I Fudged Up needs to have a humiliating ending. About 2 hours later, she came back for real and asked me to help her with the groceries during the trip. She berated me with embarrassing questions such as, "What are you watching?" Or "Is that what you do when I'm not home?" Or "Did you have a good time?" My own mom roasted the heck out of me, and the humiliation is still going on right now as I type this up. I can't wait to have a house of my own next year. TLDR, Bluetooth connection is dangerous. I don't really have too much to say for this one. You done goofed bad. And oh man, you are never gonna hear the end of this for the rest of your life, I can guarantee it. Alright, I don't know if I'm gonna keep the video outro as a thing, but thank you all so much for actually making it all the way through the video. It is an absolute pleasure to do this. It's actually a ton of fun, so I think I'm gonna commit to doing it this time. I don't know how many times I've said it, but I'm gonna try this time. So everybody, thank you so much for watching and listening. I hope you had a good time, and I hope to see you more in the future. You all drive safe.